Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. Today's topic is Asset Management Mobile App in Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. My name is Tim and I will be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and/or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the attendee list. By joining, you are agreeing to this experience. The recording will be made available on the TechTalk's Community Dynamics page within the coming weeks. If you have questions for our presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions throughout the session and in a dedicated segment at the end of the presentation. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Nicole Gump, Senior Fast Track Solution Architect, Alejandra Cabrales, Senior Fast Track Solution Architect, Harshad Puthran, Principal Fast Track Solution Architect, and for Q&A, we have Johan Hoffmann, Senior Product Manager, Smitha Nataraj, Principal Engineering Manager, and Andreas Hassing, Senior Software Engineer. Nicole, over to you to get us started.
Thanks, Tim, and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be talking about the new Asset Management mobile app. My name is Nicole Gump. As Tim said, I'm a Senior Fast Track Solution Architect for Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management here at Microsoft. I've added my contact information, so please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions after the presentation. I'll hand it over to Alejandra to introduce herself as well.
Thanks, Nicole. Hello, my name is Alejandra Cabrales. I'm Senior Fast Track Solution Architect for Dynamics 365 here at Microsoft. I have also added my contact information, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I will hand it over to Harshad to introduce himself.
Thanks, Alejandra. Hello, all. My name is Harshad Puthran. I'm a Principal Fast Track Solution Architect for Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management at Microsoft. I've also added my contact information, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'll pass it back to Nicole to walk us through the TechTalk series details.
Thanks, Harshad. This Tech Talk is part of a series that has covered various business processes that use the Asset Management module in Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. In today's Tech Talk, we'll be focusing on the new mobile app that can be used with this module. All previous Tech Talks have been recorded, and you can find the recordings on the Tech Talk Community Dynamics page. The series landing page has been linked on this slide on the left-hand side as well. Today's agenda includes a review of the mobile app that has been deprecated, an overview of the new mobile app that is replacing it, including what features are available and how to deploy it. We will then have a demo of the app and wrap up by reviewing some key resources with some time for Q&A at the end. And of course, we can't dive into our content without starting with our riddle of the day. So today's riddle is, what is more useful when it is broken? So put your answers in the chat and we'll reveal the answer at the end of the session. So let's start by reviewing the deprecated mobile app. We deprecated the Dynamics 365 mobile platform and the related mobile workspaces last June. That includes the Asset Management workspace. If you are currently utilizing this functionality, you will be able to continue to do so until Wave 2 next year. That's the October 2024 release. And this follows our standard 1-year deprecation notice timeframe. The recommendation moving forward for all mobile apps is that they should be built in Power Apps using the Power Platform virtual tables capabilities to access the Dynamics 365 data. This is how the new Asset Management mobile app was architected. And I will hand it over to Alejandra to cover the new app in more detail.
Thanks, Nicole. We'll now introduce the new mobile app that is replacing the deprecated one. As it was previously mentioned, this new asset management mobile app has been built on Power Apps. It supports the most common platforms like Android, iOS, Windows, and also the most common devices and form factors. This mobile app will help in assisting workers doing maintenance on machines and equipment installed. And it replaces the deprecated D365 workspace-based app. Now let's talk about what are the features available in the new mobile app. In the asset management mobile app, the workers will have the ability to create maintenance requests proactively. This workflow has multiple capabilities, such as the ability to submit maintenance requests from the app, and as it is directly connected to Dynamics 365, the request will be reflected right in there. Users can search by the asset or function allocation they may want to create a maintenance request for. This search will be done across all the legal entities where the user security role is granted access in supply chain management. They can use the scanning feature to scan barcodes or QR codes of the asset or functional location ID. And also it gives the worker the capability of documenting details in the maintenance request. Users can also take pictures that they may want or need to attach to the maintenance request to have more complete information. Workers will be able to update the service level and maintenance request type. The other workflow in the asset management mobile app is manage work orders, which encompasses the following capabilities. The workers will have the ability to search, filter, and sort work orders that are assigned to them. They will be able to record their progress, which will allow the system to track information like the labor, the materials, and services for that work that has been already done. The workers will be able to change the state of the work orders and processing existing ones from the app. They can also update checklist items that are being consumed for each job. For this, user will be able to choose from list of released products, items in the asset bump, and spare parts for the current asset. User can also update asset counters through measurement type checklist item. It is also possible to update the time spent and material consumed while working on the job, as well as the view and adding any additional information or some notes. With this, I will hand it over to Harshad to talk about the deployment architecture.
Thank you, Alejandra. We'll now cover how you can deploy the new mobile app. To start, to use the new asset management mobile app, you must be using supply chain management version 10.0.32 or higher. Has been in public preview since March 17th onwards. The app has been built on Power Apps platform, leveraging the Canvas app framework. The next step would be to use deploy Dataverse. The way this connects to CM is through the Dataverse virtual entities tables for D365. So you either have to install a new Dataverse instance or repurpose your existing Dataverse instance that you have and configure it. Once you have the Dataverse installed, configured, the next step is to now install the asset management mobile app into your Dataverse environment to make it possible for users to access it when they sign in using the Power Apps mobile app. This process also sets up the required user roles and other dependencies in Dataverse. And finally, the next step is to share the Canvas app with users. Each supply chain management user that should be able to access the asset management mobile app must have one of the two security roles. The first one is the maintenance requester role, which allows the supply chain user account to use the app to create maintenance request. And the second one is the maintenance worker, it gives them the ability to manage work orders. And finally, once they've downloaded the app on their mobile phones, they can start using by logging into the Power App using the app. So we'll go through the onboarding step. So step one, as I said, just to go a little more deeper into what you need to do in terms of deployment, would be to either repurpose one of your D365 instances, if you already have that for testing purposes, or deploy a D365 SCM instance in your LCS environment. I would also take the opportunity to maybe, once I've deployed the instance, set up the user credentials over there and then assign the rules to that user ID as well. Step two would be then to set up your Dataverse. Obviously, you can do this in parallel, but what you can do is configure existing Dataverse instances if you have one, or create a new Dataverse instance through Power Platform Admin Center. Step three over here would be to then add the mobile application to your Dataverse environment and then share it with the users. And finally, once all the ancillary steps have been completed, the final step is for the user now to install the app, the Power App, on their mobile phones, devices, and log into the asset management app, depending on the rules that they have. They'll see the screens in this application. We'll now cover the user interface options available in the new app. The first one is the homepage. So this will be the landing page for users once they log in to the Power App application. Let's go through the UI features and fields in this homepage. So the first field that you would see or button on top is the Jobs tab. This tab gives them the ability to see a list of all the jobs that have been assigned to them. The second one is the Work Orders tab that gives them the ability to look at associated work orders or a list of work orders that sent to them as well. The third thing that you would see on top of the jobs that have over there is the profile icon or the user image. Through this, we can check the version number of the app and also our terms of service information. Right next to the user image, you have the legal entity identifier. In most cases, if the worker has access to, let's say, multiple legal entities in D365, they would have an opportunity to toggle and switch between those legal entities to look at their jobs in those companies or legal entities. Next to the legal entity component over there is the create request button. This is a key button because that would help them to create maintenance request through this app. And we'll demonstrate the process in the demo today. Next to it is the search button that would give them the ability to search information on the screen. And then you have the filter button. We have introduced three types of kind of a time date based filters out of the box that would give them the ability to add additional filters on top of the data to filter the content that they're looking for. And we also have a sort button. A good thing about the sort button is that if there are any critical jobs that they want to sort and bring on top, they can use the opportunity to through this button to sort the order of the jobs in the list as well. And finally, you have the card kind of a layout. This is very helpful because we have housed quite a lot of elements within these cards, and then it summarizes the information, as you can see on the screen, for each of those jobs. The layout is very similar for work orders as well. So the work orders also have a card kind of a summarized layout, and once you click on it, you can see additional details related to the jobs, and in the case of jobs, and then likewise in case of work orders, you can see details related to the work orders as well. The next set of process and screens associated with it that I wanted to show you is the create maintenance request. And what I'm going to kind of show to you through images here is a very minimalistic approach that we have taken to create a maintenance request. So let's say I want to create a maintenance request. I would log into my landing page or home page over here. And once I'm there, all I have to do is click on that button on top. which would initiate the maintenance request process and also show a pop-up at the bottom of the page, which would give me the ability to either search or scan asset and functional location information. Let's say I want to use the scanning feature. I'll click on that scan button over there. And what it would do is it would enable the camera on my mobile device. And with that, I can take a barcode or a QR code image over there and then scan it. And that way, that information is captured in the background. Based on the barcode and the QR code configuration, the system will bring back the asset or the functional location information associated with it. And that's the third and final screen that you would see, which will have the associated asset or functional location information. In this case, it was an asset. So you can see AK201 was the asset information that was brought back by the system in the screen. And then on top of it, I can actually add additional information. So I can add descriptions related to this request. I can add some internal notes for, let's say some additional team members who would want to review it. Also, I can change the service level from the default that has been set up to something that I feel is more optimal for this maintenance request. And then also update the maintenance request type. The default is corrective over here, but we can change it to to other types in the screen as well. And finally, a very important feature that we've introduced is adding photos. So the workers technicians have the ability to now add photos to this request directly, and they can add multiple photos over here of the asset, the functional location area, etc., and capture it in the maintenance request prior to submitting it. So once I've captured all this information, the final step is to now submit the maintenance request, and it will generate a maintenance request ID. At the same time, let's say if I'm trying to pass on this information over and create a work order out of it, all this information would go into the work order, including the images and photos from this maintenance request in D365. That would be a process in D365 that additional users can execute. Right. So with that, I'll go to the other important page that we have, which is the jobs page. You see two images over here, and that's because it's actually one single screen, has a scroll bar. So we've introduced multiple components for the users, and from a form factor standpoint, not so that they don't have to toggle between multiple screens to see job information. All of that has been housed in one single screen, and that way they can scroll from top to bottom and look at these fields and update some of the information over here. So let's go through the fields here and buttons that we have introduced. Again, on top, you have the work order identifier information for the job. And then you have the toggle buttons for jobs and checklists. And what you can do over here is you can toggle between the jobs. And let's say you have created a checklist for the job, you can toggle to the checklist item and also view it. We'll look at it in our demo today. And then you have the job information. So this is kind of additional description notes that you want to capture for that job or update it from what was created in D365. Also, in the card below, you have the ability to now view attachments, adjust time spent and materials consumed from the screen itself. And this would obviously impact, the time spent and the items consumed information will be relayed over to the projects module, because that is how, internally the projects and the financials are captured. So it goes through the project module, and that is how the adjustments would work in the background. Also, you have the schedule start and end date information here. And below that, you have the work order state. It is scheduled in this image over here. If I have to change that to a different state, I have the ability to use that button below it to change it to a different state that I want to at any given time of that process that I'm executing. Finally, you have three other buttons at the bottom. The first one is the go to work order button. So, this gives you the ability to go back to the work order that is associated with this job. Finally, you have you can see jobs for the asset and the functional locations, that may be associated with the asset or location that is available here. Right. So now I'll move on to the checklist tab. So if you remember from our previous screen, there was a job screen, and then if you toggle over, as I mentioned, see the checklist screen, and this is that checklist screen. What we have captured in the checklist screen is your ability to actually create multiple checklist items, and these could be of different types. So you could have a text type of checklist item that you see in this image on top that I have captured as notes. Then you have something like a drop down, and I'll show that again in the demo today is the which is a drop down kind of checklist item, and then finally you have a range, a measurement, kind of a threshold checklist item that you can define. So the fields over here again is the toggle button on top between the jobs and the checklist. It also has a number to it. So if once you update the checklist items over here, that number would get updated. You also have another number within each of those cards within those checklist items, and it has a color to it. Has a green color in that image over there, and then it's a little different because I've already checked that list and completed it, and that's why it changes the color, and that way you know that this item has been completed versus the other two over there. And that is the header information. So I could have one header and multiple checklist items under it. Over here as an example, you see quality, but within quality, I just have one quality check for now. Maybe I can add another quality, type of checklist item under it and house it over there as well. Then you have the information related to that checklist item, which is the title for it. And then finally, you have the item type information, which is would be a variable, could be a text, etc. And then finally, a value that you assign, again, depending on the type of checklist item. All right. So I'll come to the final screen here that I wanted to show you guys. This is the work orders page. And the work orders page has two tabs on top. So it has that toggle button on top that would give you the ability to toggle between the work order and its associated jobs. And once you're on the jobs, as I showed the job screen earlier, you can click on the job card and go deeper and view and update information over there as well. The second piece of information that you can view over here is the work order information. So you can view things like work order numbers, description, what was the work order type assigned from D365, service level information, dates, etc. that were assigned to the work order when it was created in D365. And finally, the workers have the ability to change the state in this work order at the bottom. So I can click on that button and change the state once I feel that there is an opportunity to update the state of this work order. All right. So with that, I'll move on to the demo for today. The way we have structured the demo is we have split it into two parts. The first part covers the overview of the app layout, and then we'll create a maintenance request as well. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into the first demo for today. So to begin, the worker or the technician will need to download and install the Power Apps application in their phone, assuming all the other ancillary setups like setting up Dataverse, etc. in the background have been completed. And if they have the required roles associated with their user ID, then they should be able to access the asset management app that is being deployed in the Power Apps environment. So overall, once they have the app over here installed and they're ready to actually go ahead and log in, all they have to do is just log into click this icon over here, log in, and it will present the next screen. So let's go ahead and click on that Power Apps icon over there, and it will open up our app, the Power App, with the list of apps that have been deployed. I've logged in as a user named Evan Smith. You must sign into Power Apps using a domain account that matches a user account in supply chain management with the same Azure Active Directory ID. Once you're in, you can select and add the asset management app to your favorites list. I've already done that. There are a few app versions that we are testing right now, so you would see, some similar names over here, and the pre-tag indicates it's a preview version. And you can just go ahead and click our app over there, and that will take us to the next screen. Now, if you're logging in for the first time, you would see a few additional screens. What this tells us is we have essentially introduced some key features like scanning the QR code and barcode of the assets and functional location. This is a very important feature as part of our initial release of the solution. I'll go through this in our demo. The next piece is the card kind of a layout that encapsulates, and summarizes information in one single card, and you can view that. And then finally, the legal entity or multi-legal entity feature that has been introduced. So with that, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll get to the landing page from here. Right, so once you have logged in, if it is for the first time, as I said, you would see those other screens, but subsequently, when you log in, you would end up in this landing page over here. Now, I have logged in, as I said, with a user ID that I had created earlier. What I did was, for demonstration purposes, I've assigned myself both the maintenance requester and the maintenance worker role, and that gives me the ability to create both requests, and manage jobs and work orders. You can definitely change that for your users, depending on their roles in the system. Now, we have a few elements, so I wanted to go through them on the screen. So on the top left-hand side is the image that you see. And once you click on it, you'll see the version number of the app and then our terms of service information over here. And then once I close it, the one next to it is the legal entity, USMF, well, that's a demo data company. And, as I had mentioned earlier, if I had access to multiple legal entities, I would have the ability to switch, to those multiple legal entities over there. Also, what you have seen in the middle over there on top is the add request, which is the create maintenance request button. Once you click on it, it would give the ability to actually create a request. Next to it is the search button. So the search button gives the users the ability to search on this form. What you also have is next to it is the filter. As I mentioned earlier, we have introduced some out-of-the-box filters, which would give them the ability to filter the data further. And what you don't see is actually a sort button next to it, which is there in our new application that we'll be releasing. That would give them, the ability to, as I mentioned, put critical jobs on top of the page if they want to sort. Now, in the jobs over here, if I want to look at the screen, the card kind of a layout, this kind of gives me the ability to kind of scroll up and down and look at all the jobs assigned. Also, have the ability to toggle to the work orders form over here and look at all the work orders that have been assigned to me as well. So that is how we have managed the form factors between the two screens and use the card layout. Now, let's say I want to go back to the home page at any given point of time of the Power Apps. I just have to kind of slide the screen from the left-hand side, and that way I can go to the home screen. And then I can, obviously come back to my landing page once you click on the app again. All right, so let's start our journey with, the first process that we wanted to demonstrate. As you know, oftentimes most companies start their maintenance journey with, by creating a maintenance request, and that is typically, and not necessarily the starting point, but typically that is where, you would see a company start maintenance journey. So with that, we can go ahead and click on that add request button on top of the page, and that is our starting point. And immediately you will see a pop-up at the bottom of the page. Either I can search or scan the information for an asset or function location from here for demonstration purposes. I'll go ahead and use the scan feature for now. And then once I click on that scan button, what it would do is actually, enable the camera in the background. So let's go ahead and click on that scan button at the bottom. Now I have, again, as for demonstration purposes, I already captured a barcode for an asset named AK201. And we have added the screen over here. And the reason for that is if the barcode is associated with the same asset in multiple legal entities, the user will have the ability on the screen to pick up the right legal entity and the items from this list and then continue the maintenance request process from that point on. So that is a very important step. And likewise, if you're using a functional location, the steps would be very similar. Just have to scan the barcode. It would show the functional location information across multiple legal entities. Right. So with that, I'll pick this item, asset, and go to the next screen. And on the screen, you see two buttons. On top, there is the work order and request button that have been grayed out. But let's say for this asset, you had some work orders and requests already created. Those would have some numbers, and once you would click on it, would have the ability to go and check additional work orders and request information related to this. Over there. Correct. So with that, let's start adding some description here. Let's say I just want to, add some description, like new request to repair a machine. So I'll type in that information. What it does is it will add that information and also give me the ability to add notes below it. So once I add the description, I can also add some additional internal notes for the team as well. So that is the next field that we have introduced. And once you've added the notes, the other field that you see is the service level information right below it. The service level currently is defaulted to medium, number 4, but you can always change it from the screen. So the workers and the technicians have the ability to actually change this information as well. Another thing that they can change is the maintenance request type. By default, it is corrective for this demo, but you can always change it to another type, based on the request that you're creating and the requirements in it. Right. So that completes the first 4 fields that we wanted to show. And then a very interesting feature I had mentioned earlier is the add photos button right below it or link below it. What that would do is once I click on it, it would give me the ability to capture multiple images, and add them over here. One at a time, I can just add multiple images and then, process it as part of that maintenance request. So let's go ahead and take a photo of, again, for the demo purposes, I've already, taken an image and I'll just use that image and capture it against this maintenance request. I could have added multiple images, photos over here, or deleted some of them if I needed. So, that way, before I submit, I can capture all this information and then submit the maintenance request. What it would do while I would submit is in the background, it would create a maintenance request ID that you will see in the next screen, and that completes our overall maintenance request process over there. As I mentioned earlier, you also have, if you want to convert this into a work order to the D365 later, all this information with the images would flow into that work order as well. All right, so let's go back to our main screen from here. Now, I'd shown you 2 buttons when we started the request. So let's look at the other button, which was the search button. So I'll again click on that add request on top, and then let's look at the search option here. So let's say I don't want to use the scan option, but just search things, such assets and function locations directly. So I can come to the screen. For performance purposes, we have not included, all the asset and function location information. So I can just type in the asset information on some part of it, and that way it will start showing me all the asset and function location information that is applicable. So, as an example, I can just type in a letter over here of an asset that I know, and it would start showing me all the information related, all the assets, over here. And I can pick and continue the maintenance process like earlier and complete it in that final screen over there. All right, so that was the first part of the demo that we wanted to show you with the overview of the layout and the creation of the maintenance request. With that, we'll move to the next part of the demo, part 2. And in part 2, what we are going to cover is, manage jobs and checklists, and also manage work order information. So let me go to the next demo. So as I mentioned earlier, the maintenance request feature is typically the first step of the maintenance process. Once the maintenance request is created, organizations could, internally have processes to review and you to review the request and schedule work or dispatch of work based on the work order and assign it to a worker. So, once it's assigned to a worker, the worker would logically come over here and look at the jobs that have been assigned to them. They can scroll through the jobs in this form over here and also look at each of those jobs by clicking them. And they can either view or update additional information in the job. So let's go ahead and pick up one of the jobs over there. Now, once you're in the jobs form, you have the ability now to look at multiple items over here. There's the checklist toggle button on the top. So anytime I want to look at the checklist, update them, I can toggle to that checklist item as well. Over here, we have used the real estate, quite a bit to accommodate multiple fields. As I said, I can always go ahead and go to that checklist button and then come back to the job screen as well. Now, I'll come to this a little later, but we'll go through some additional information in the jobs form over here. So what does this comprise of is multiple cards within the job form itself. The first piece that you see on top is the worker's remark and internal note. Those are more descriptive information that you can either add or update in this card over here. And I can either add some internal notes for my team to look at, or workers' remarks for my purposes, or for someone else who would be looking at this later to D365 as well. So as I said, I can update this information or write a new information over here as remove it and completely update it if I would want to. Similarly, I can update the internal notes as well. And once I've updated that information, the next card that you see has quite a few fields or items. The first one is the attachments. The ability that we have given over here is to actually view attachments that were attached in D365. So users can come to this screen, click on this view button over here, and then they would have the ability to go and view text, PDF, or other types of attachments that were attached through D365, and also open them from here. Below that, what you have is my time spent and items consumed and asset information. So my time spent, I can always adjust the my time spent information, over here, and that would again adjust information in the projects module accordingly, and also the items consumed. This is very critical. As I said, this has impacts in the project module. So, whenever the workers are executing this, be a little careful. So yeah, here I can either add or subtract the numbers, in the hours or the minutes sections. Let's say I want to just, bring it down by 15 minutes. I can go and, reduce it by 15 minutes and make it 30 minutes for now, and then confirm, hit the confirm button. And it would show you the updated information in the previous screen. Likewise, I can also adjust the items consumed. So I can either add items and adjust the overall items consumed. Let's go ahead and do that. So again, you see a search and a scan option over here. For this demo, I'll just go with the search option. On the screen, what you have is items, asset bombs, and spare parts. Items are released products items. So I can search on a released product and get that information. I'll maybe search for, let's say a released product item that I know, and then select it. Once I select it, it will show me additional information related to that product. Important thing over here is you have dimensions that you can see related to that item, depending on its dimension combination. So I can change the site, the warehouse information in this case. Also, let's say an item had a tracking dimension, based on the dimension combination, I could have already easily changed that through the screen as well. And finally, I have the ability to change the quantity. I can keep it 1 or change it, and then I can confirm and go back to the main screen, and that way it will adjust the information. So this way I've added, if you could see, I just added another item, adjusted it, with the items consumed. And if I come back to the main screen from here, now it would show you 2 items that were adjusted overall. Below it, what you have is the asset information, so asset ID and the asset description. Again, this could have been function location as well. And finally, you have the scheduled start date and scheduled end date, and the work order state, which is scheduled by default. I can change this to, let's say, something different if I want to, and then update that information from that through that button over here. The other 3 links that I have is the go to work order, so I can look at relative work orders from here or any jobs for this asset on the location for this job as well. So those are the key fields. If you can see, we have introduced quite a few fields over here. And there are some productivity features also that we have introduced, from an overall search point of view, pardon me, for assets and locations. In the checklist screen over here, I've introduced some checklist items. This is the text checklist, the first one. The second is a drop-down kind of a checklist item that we've introduced. And the third is, more of a range threshold measurement kind of a checklist item. I'll show you by updating the drop-down kind of a checklist item in the previous screen. So if we go back to the previous screen from here and look at the quality check item, and let's say I just want to pass it, just click the drop-down, select the pass option there, and I can write some notes and then mark it as checked. It would update the information. A couple of things will change on the screen. One is on top, you will see that the numbers have changed from 0 by 3 to 1 by 3 over there. And also there's a green color. The icon has changed. The numbers actually for quality have changed to green color because this checklist item was updated. So in that way, you can manage all your other checklist items, update them, and finally, based on the findings that you have, you can go back and update your job information and the state overall for that job as well. So this kind of encapsulates the overall checklist details. Now, coming back to the jobs, what I have over here is, as I said, multiple jobs. So I can look at any job that's more critical on the top, as well as other jobs that have been assigned to me as well. I can look at work orders too, which is the toggle button on the right-hand side on top over there. Again, the work order will have a very similar card kind of a layout as the job screen. And so that we have used the common form factors between the 2 screens. And if I would click on that work order, it would show me, as I said, the same card kind of a layout. Now I can click on one of these work orders and then go deeper and look at the additional information in the work order itself. The work order also has the jobs. If you can see, now you can go back from the work orders on top to the jobs as well. And then I can go deeper into the jobs. I've already shown you the jobs, so I won't go back to the jobs. We'll focus on the work orders over here. So I'll come back to the work order screen and look at the items here. So from top to bottom in the work order screen, you have the work order number, you have the work order description, then you have the work order type, service level information, and dates which have been included. And finally, you have the state that you can change for this work order. So the users can actually change the state of the work order overall and then report it back, and that way it gets updated in D365 as well. So that change button is important for users so that they can, when they click on it, they will have the ability to change the overall state of this order from the default that is currently available over there in the work order information over here. While I would click that, just one other thing, if you can see, these have multiple card layouts also in the background. Yeah, so I can change this again. And once I change this, it would change the default state. And that completes our overall work order process. As you can see, we have used minimalistic screens so that there are lesser clicks, lesser screens to toggle, between work orders, jobs, and also between maintenance requests as well, right? So overall, the experience is, workers don't have to spend a lot of time, maneuvering around different screens and clicking on multiple areas within the app. With that, that ends kind of our part 2 for the demo today. I'll move on to questions Q&A. and pass it over to Johan to summarize the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harshad. There are a couple of questions that I would like to highlight. Couple of questions around licensing. Does the use of the app requires additional licensing? And the answer is no. It's covered by the supply chain licenses, team member license for the maintenance request, and activity user license for using the work order flow. Couple of questions around extending or customizing the app. That is not currently supported. Also a question around offline capabilities. That is also not supported. This is on our roadmap to support offline scenarios. Does the app scale across form factors? The answer here is yes. It scales to tablets or on phone devices, as you saw in the demo. Then there was a question around the ability to create a work order from the app and get it scheduled right away. This is not currently supported, but we have it in the plans. So the worker can, if they see an issue, they can create a work order right away on the asset and also assign it to a preferred worker and get it dispatched right away. I think that covers the questions. Let's see, there are 2 new questions here. Do we have any performance metrics? I don't know, Smith or Andreas, if you want to chip in here.
So there is related to the virtual entities, we don't have any performance metrics that we can publish at this time.
Thank you. And then there's another question. How do we manage the use of components stored at the client still not used on the job? So you can model, for example, a warehouse, a client warehouse, and then keep it stored on that warehouse. And then when you run master planning, the functional location of the asset, you can model on that warehouse. So master planning will make the component available on that warehouse and location. And then you'll consume from there when you consume on the app. Can maintenance items set to recur? That is not currently supported, no. Yeah, I think that covers the questions.
Great. Thank you, Johan, and thanks, Andreas. And thank you to participants for asking those questions, and we were able to answer those. And then I'll go through some additional information here about resources that we can leverage. So let me go to the next few slides over here. So we have some additional resources. First one is the blog post that is available for you to get some additional information about the asset management mobile app. Our regular Microsoft docs have been updated to reflect information related to the new asset management app. A few important things over here. The learn parts have also been updated with that information, so you should now be able to use updated asset deployment, process-based information that we have published actually. And then finally, the 2 important ones that I always like is the Yammer group that we have for the asset management module, where you can post your questions and also share your thoughts, ideas with us through the idea portal as well. Okay. So with that, come back to the riddle of the day, and I'm sure most of you know the answer by now. So the answer was an egg. So thanks for part of this belief with us. And then finally, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Tim to go through some housekeeping items and closing notes for today.
Thank you, Harshad. I've posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel. We'd love to hear your feedback on today's session and hear what you'd like to see in future events. Thank you for your participation. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be made available on the TechTalks Community Dynamics page within the coming weeks. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters today, Nicole, Alejandra, and Harshad, our support staff, Johan, Smitha, and Andreas, and to you, our audience, for joining us today. We hope you have a great rest of the day ahead.